health portal.
Hello, everybody. I'm back. Dr. K. Agarwal, President, Heartcare Foundation of India and Confederation of Medical Association of Asia and Oceania. And you are watching Medtalks with Dr. K. Agarwal, 1098th non-stop edition on Medtalks and 1590th non-stop COVID edition. Let's have the headlines of the day. The WHO has changed its guidelines for the pregnant women considering a COVID-19 vaccine, dropping opposition to immunization for most expected mothers unless they are at a high risk. India's weekly death toll from COVID-19 fell below 1,000 for the first time since first week of May last year, while fatalities recorded in January were the lowest in 8 months and less than half of the toll reported in December. With 11,427 new coronavirus cases being reported in a day, India's COVID tally now stands at 1.07 crore. The national recovery rate is over 97%. The allocation to healthcare in this budget has been increased substantially, announced the finance minister. The areas of focus will be preventive and curative healthcare and well-being. The budget outlay for health and well-being is 2.23 lakh crore, which is 137 rise from the previous budget of 35,000 crore has been allocated for the development and manufacturing of COVID-19 vaccines. South Korea's Sinovac Incorporation said it has developed the world's first COVID-19 diagnostic kit that is capable of identifying multiple mutant virus variants of the virus in a single reaction. Let's go to the topic of the day. COVID pandemic and business resilience. And before I introduce the guest, we have a ritual of Atithi Devo Bhava, and that is Suman K. S for Seedha, U for Ulta, M for Mutti, A for Angutha, N for Nakhun, K for Kalai. And with that, we invite our special guest today, Professor Dr. Anil Kumar Gupta, Professor of Policy and Strategies, DRR and Sustainability, and Head of the Division of Environment and Disaster Risk Management at National Institute of Disaster Management under the Ministry of Home Affairs, Program Director for the Center for Excellence on Climate Resilience. He is also an expert team member of WMO, Climate Statement Southeast Core Group member of IUCNCEM, and Vice Chairman of Association of Occupational and Environmental Health in India. He is recipient of several awards, including National Science Day, Young Scientist Award in Forestry and Environment. He has more than 150 publications. He has credit for preparation of national and sectoral disaster management plans, human resource capacity development plans, national action plan for chemical disaster management, etc., etc. And he has worked in the field of disaster management, environment, and climate resilience for more than 25 years. So we will like to listen to you before we interact. Now, this program will be live and for both the doctors and the public together. So you can speak English in the mix. Professor Anil Gupta.
Thank you, Dr. Agarwal Saab, for inviting me to this very, very important and very popular series of talks. So I would be using a PowerPoint presentation. So I'm sharing my slides and hope my PowerPoint is visible. Dr.
Yes. No, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And very, very important discourse of the day as being hosted by none other than Dr. K.K. Agarwal Saab on this COVID pandemic issue. And COVID pandemic issue, which has multiple significance because it has started primarily from the mismanagement of the wild gene resources or human intrusion to that, and with that gave origin to a health emergency. And this localized health emergency then took the form of a pandemic, and a pandemic of a global scale disaster. But a global scale disaster pandemic has also numerous dimensions and lessons for all of us, because it has not affected only the human life and health, but it has also caused major disruptions to the business and sustainability across infrastructure, industry, and even the kind of a local and national economies. So looking at the varied range of implications of COVID-19 pandemic, not only as a single disaster, but also as is a kind of a series of lessons that it has given to us during the past 10 months time to improve the overall framework of disaster management, overall framework of sustainable development, from concept to kind of a to help us understand the requirement of changes in the overall framework. Coming to the India's context, as we are in India, and India has been one of the most affected countries of not only the hydrometeorological or climate related disasters, but particularly in this COVID-19 pandemic also. Uh, and there are certain issues which make India distinct as compared to other countries of the world, particularly the most developed countries are the European countries. Our health system has relatively quite weak, and the focus in the disaster management has not been on primarily on the health sector. And beside this, that has also been our experience, particularly over past 15 years or so, that environmental emergencies has been on the rise. And these environmental emergencies, which are growing day by day, are also becoming more and more complex. Beside this, it has also been our experience, particularly the initial phase of the coronavirus pandemic and the lockdown that was required to curb down the spread of infections, that caused severe disruptions to the industries, because more than 70% of the industry and businesses in India, and in particular, but in general in the Asia Pacific, did not had any kind of business continuity management systems in place. And wherever in the kind of major industries or major corporate level systems, they had a concept of business continuity management. They seldom had included disasters or the health related emergencies as a major impediment to business. So that has been a kind of a major setback to industries, because the industries were not actually prepared for these kind of situations. And despite of a jungle of laws related with the safety and other things, how to maintain the business continuity, how to adapt to the alternatives, that emerge as major change. However, in general, India and in the region, still there is a lot to go ahead in promoting the safety culture, because safety culture is still in the plans and books, and the curriculum, but safety culture is yet to reach to the ground reality. That is important, and that is visible in public also, in businesses also, in industry also. Looking at the kind of disruptions that it caused to the major business sectors includes service sector and tourism, I think the most important sector but most affected sector. It has also affected agriculture, but yes, agriculture could revive and despite of the serious level disruptions at the initial phase, the agriculture sector could sustain. But now education sector, manufacturing sector, hotel sector, or even real estate industries, and lot many dimensions of businesses are undergoing lot of changes, looking to the lessons that this coronavirus pandemic has given. This picture is very interesting. That's why I thought of sharing with the all here, that how the media focus has been concentrated on how this virus epidemics is going to affect the supply chain business disruptions. It is as compared to the previous pandemics or previous epidemic outbreaks. So this was kind of a very sharp rise to the media coverage on this, because there had been very serious level disruptions, and many of the businesses in fact could not revive. So these are the kind of lessons. But there are also other dimension, as I often quote, that this period of 10 months also had led to certain questions on the concept of GDP. Because if we look at the kind of GDP, we had kind of a negative growth in India, and it is shown here in the picture that India is affected relatively quite less. But in the countries, particularly in Asia Pacific, there is always a concept of parallel economy, or there is a concept of unorganized economy. So these kind of economies also play a great role, and therefore these kind of accountings are not always perfect. And therefore we when we talk of business resilience, so it need to look at a greater kind of a range, starting from organized sector to unorganized sector. This is a picture of the month of May, last week of May. I just thought of sharing here that a kind of a interesting question comes with this picture, that the states in India, which we consider as the most developed economically, industrially, and highly urbanized states, but those were the states which were most severely affected by the coronavirus pandemic. So does it indicate to some kind of relationship, or does it poses some question to our kind of a paradigm of development or sustainable development? So that is beside this, we have also witnessed a number of disasters during this period. So this coronavirus pandemic period of 10 months or so has not been only a single disaster, but it was a kind of a very complex disaster situation, because we had heat wave situations, we had drought situations. In many part of the country we had drinking water crisis. Then we faced three major cyclones, including one super cyclone. We had a number of industrial accidents, particularly in the unlocking phase, and when we wanted to restart the industries. And we also had a major pest attack, a locust attack. So these kind of implications also led us to realize that this period has given us a kind of a testing time to survive the complex emergency situation. So that was another kind of a lesson. And all these kind of situations put before our industry and businesses a challenging time. And therefore the concept of business continuity resilience now need to integrate the disaster resilience, health system shocks and stresses. And beside this, the overall the concept of sustainability need to be integrated, because many times businesses are business continuity is jeopardized, not only by the economic shocks, but environmental emergencies. And now this coronavirus pandemic has also given to understanding of this dimension, that a health emergency can lead to a systemic failure. Now, the kind of lesson that we could gather by doing some kind of studies across some of the industrial belts, and working with some of the business houses in the country. That one of the most important lesson is that the industries, not all the industries, some of the industries which had some kind of business continuity, they had some kind of understanding of the post shock or post disaster recovery planning. However, now this business continuity planning that now we are envisaging for is not only the recovery plan, but it should have equal focus on prevention and mitigation of the risk, and how we address with the shock, how we withstand the shock period. And that is very important within the business continuity strategies, are business sustainability strategies. And therefore we this also requires to have a distinction between business as usual scenario or the preferred scenario kind of things, that with alternatives. Like during the health systems also, we realized that a number of startups and number of entrepreneurship had come up very fast after the shock period. Like we were not able to manufacture even masks or the ventilators or PPE kits, but now the businesses, this disaster also gave rise to a lot of business opportunities, but also a lot of self dependence opportunities. So business continuity, despite of being a central element, has to be looked as the integral component of a broad risk management strategy. And therefore this is the point where actually we are proposing to integrate a disaster resilience and health shock resilience as an integral component. Now as we have been promoting preparation of disaster management plan as also required by the international policy framework, and also the national legal framework for the governments, at the national level, state level, sub-national level, or at the local level also. Now when we are looking that the disasters are causing a huge economic damage and losses, and also causing damage to health and people's livelihood, so on and so forth. So it is also important that the businesses or industries need to prepare disaster management plan. Industries were preparing disaster management plan only for industrial accidents, but now we are working with industries, and we are promoting the preparation of multi-hazard disaster management plan that should include even the health risk and environmental emergencies as well. Recent lessons over the past 15 years, that the known list of disasters, that for in India we have a list of 33 type of disasters, but there are new additions very recently which are not yet declared as disaster. But as we all know that in 2019 only we had to declare air pollution related health emergency in the national capital city. So these kind of things, then the new issues that are emerging, like water emergencies. For example, now we have large congregations like Kumbh Mela or Magh Mela. So can a chemical contaminant or the biological contaminant can cause these kind of disruptions? Then heat wave, cold wave. So a number of environmental emergencies are now taking the form of disasters. So these are the kind of lessons. Now, looking at the kind of opportunity that we have seen, like India has been one of the forefront countries of the world to adopt Sendai framework for DRR, disaster risk reduction, in preparing its disaster management plan. So that is a great opportunity. India's Prime Minister's call with his 10-point agenda, where we say that all the sectors of development need to imbibe the principles of disaster management. We had been able to prepare the national level sectoral plans for some of the ministries and some of the sectors, including agriculture, environment, and health. Recently, the National Health Adaptation Plan has been developed under the National Action Plan on Climate Change. So these are the kind of opportunities. Then National Crisis Management Plan for to deal with sudden contamination of water bodies is also on way. So these are the kind of opportunities where we are trying to integrate these issues. However, the integration in the planning process would not itself yield the ground results. We need to work basically to improve the infrastructure across the range of businesses, across all the sectors. Today's budget announcement of India's government also had laid significant emphasis on infrastructure, and India's leadership at global level for promoting disaster resilient infrastructure is also has some kind of direct and indirect linkages with that. As we have been recently working on a new tool that is called disaster impact assessment. And with the coronavirus pandemic, in fact, we are now proposing to integrate the health risk issues into the disaster impact assessment process. That would be an extension of the EIA process for the clearance of major projects. So these kind of things are giving us very important lessons for improving technical, human, systemic, and environmental management dimensions within industry and businesses. And that is why we say that the approach of business impact assessment need to be improved, and the safety and emergency related issues need to be integrated in the overall management focus, because the quality always flows from the top. And if we look at the new concept of change management, that with each significant changes, how the management system or how the operational guidelines need to adapt to the change. So that is the kind of new dimensions that is emerging. Then looking at the kind of the challenges and scenarios at the local level, in Asia Pacific, we have been advocating for local self reliance. So that is very important, and that is the reason the planning at district level, sub district level, and also at village level has been very important. Now, looking at the health sector resilience and improvements, that has the kind of lessons that we could gather during this coronavirus pandemic period. So, kind of like I already discussed about the National Health Mission under the National Action Plan on Climate Change, but the focus is now required for the health infrastructure resilience. And when we talk of health infrastructure resilience, it should take account of subset facilities as well as the interdependence of various sectors. For example, a hospital can be kept functional only when there is a proper road connectivity, there is a proper electric supply, are the alternatives. So these kind of things are important. Then the equal focus to the community medicine dimensions, integration of the alternatives and the traditional or the local resources. So these kind of things. And then the most important thing, that how personal hygiene and safety culture should become a social agenda, or the kind of a mission of the people. So that is important. Agriculture sector, that has also gained a lot of lessons during this coronavirus pandemic period, particularly looking at the post harvest, like a lot of agricultural produce is perishable. So looking at these kind of dimensions, issues of reverse migration, putting additional pressures to the rural systems and amenities, rural health issues. So these were again, and looking at the requirement of strengthening rural industries. So these kind of issues have also emerged, that we have recently incorporated into National Agriculture Disaster Management Plan that we have prepared for Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, as per the Disaster Management Act of 2005. Now, there are also some important lessons. Just a few years back, this report for the United States, that illusion of growth, like it says that how economies have failed the economy, how economics has failed the economy. So, and it says that American dream is over. In fact, in this period of coronavirus pandemic, many of us realize that American dream is really over, because each and every country, each and every society, each and every piece of land where human is inhabiting requires its own set of development, need not to copy the others development model, but rather have to evolve its own sustainability model. And when we talk of sustainability, then sustainability need to be integrated into the concept of risk management and resilience, because whatever efforts we are doing, the effort should not be the narrow sighted, but it should be foresighted, because the resilience has to be developed not only for the present generation, but it should also provide adequate support system to the future generations of to the come. future generations. Not only our own children are the new coming children in the society, but future generations of the professionals as well. So that is the kind of a lesson. And with this, I would like that we have a kind of a balance between the modern approaches of development, but we maintain the values and ethics that has been given to us in our religious wisdom across all the religions, and that will in fact provide us some kind of a madhyam marg, or the middle path that has been prescribed by Lord Buddha. And that is very important in attaining the goals of sustainable development, and to address the dichotomy when we want more and more resources for development, but on the other hand we have the resources scarcity to address. With this, I hope that I could provide some of the glimpses of the lessons of the coronavirus period for business resilience. Thank you. Over to you.
Professor Anil, as the time is short, I'll have quick discussion with you on a couple of points. One is that when we talk about infrastructure, Corona has taught us we need no five-star hospitals. We don't need single rooms, attached bathrooms, closed ventilated rooms, centrally air conditioned all over. What we require is ओरिजिनल नाइटिंगेल हॉस्पिटल, बड़े बड़े वार्ड हों, जैसे इकोनॉमी वार्ड का एयर ट्रैवल होता है, उसी तरीके से आप एडमिट होइए, खुले हों, अच्छी रोशनी हो, अच्छा वेंटिलेशन हो
जी।
सो देयरफॉर द कॉस्ट ऑफ न्यू हॉस्पिटल शुड गो डाउन।
जी,
आपने बजट बढ़ाया है, इधर से कॉस्ट ऑफ कंस्ट्रक्शन कम हो जानी चाहिए, उससे हमारा डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट इंप्रूव होना चाहिए। दैट्स वन पॉइंट आई वांट यू टू कवर। नेक्स्ट इज दैट एनिमल्स के ऊपर में हम क्या कर रहे हैं, एनिमल डिजास्टर, बिकॉज डिजास्टर तो एनिमल से आ रहे हैं। कम्युनिकेबल डिसीजेज अमेरिका में तो होती नहीं, इस प्रकार के एनिमल तो या चाइना में है या इंडिया में है। तो व्हाट सिस्टम ऑफ ए डिजास्टर अमंग्स द एनिमल्स। हमारे यहाँ पे तो बर्ड फ्लू जब तक पता लगता है तब तक तो फिर आप बोलते हो हमने 50 लाख बर्ड को मार दिया, उससे पहले हम पकड़ के नहीं पाते। वेयर इज द इंटेलिजेंस? हमारी सीबीआई है, हमारा रॉ है, हमारे यहाँ पे हर प्रकार की इंटेलिजेंस है। इन जानवरों की इंटेलिजेंस कहाँ है कि उनमें कौन सा वायरस है, कौन सा वायरस म्यूटेट कर रहा है, कौन सा वायरस म्यूटेट नहीं कर रहा, उस पे उसको कौन देख रहा है हमारी कंट्री में? जी
डॉक्टर साहब, दोनों बातें बड़ी महत्वपूर्ण करी आपने, और मैं पहला जो मुद्दा है जो आपने हॉस्पिटल्स या हेल्थ सिस्टम फैसिलिटीज की बात करी। डॉक्टर साहब, हम जब नेशनल हेल्थ अडाप्टेशन प्लान भी जब डेवलप कर रहे थे, और वो बात ये जस्ट प्री कोरोना पीरियड की है। आई थिंक वी हैड कंप्लीटेड आवर कंसल्टेशन प्रोसेस in the month of December 2019, and we submitted a draft on the 31st of December. And there, even before coronavirus period also, two issues appeared very, very important, or rather three issues. One was that the hospitals, as you rightly said, that the hospital बहुत costly होने की जरूरत नहीं है, उसको 5 स्टार की तरह होने की जरूरत नहीं है, but how effective is the access? So both ways, can medical services reach to the people, or can people reach to the hospital? So that is one dimension. Then how the hospitals keep functional during the natural disasters, because natural disasters में हम कहते हैं कि कुछ लेवल तक चूंकि वो associated with the natural factors हैं, climatic factors हैं, तो आप पूरी तरीके से कम नहीं कर सकते हैं। बट कई बार हमने देखा है जम्मू कश्मीर फ्लड, जब कश्मीर फ्लड भी हुआ था, चेन्नई फ्लड भी हुआ था, कि हॉस्पिटल्स ही सबसे पहले जो अफेक्ट होने वाले जो हमारा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है वो हॉस्पिटल ही हो जाते हैं। सो हाउ द हॉस्पिटल्स कैन प्रोवाइड सर्विसेज। जो साइक्लोन फाइलिन में भी ये एक एक्सपीरियंस आया कि जहां पर जो हमारी हॉस्पिटल की सबसे फैसिलिटीज हैं वो फेल कर गई। जो कनेक्टिंग पाइप है, जो वाटर टैंक का, ओवरहेड वाटर टैंक का, वो इट वाज ब्लोन अवे इन द एयर, एंड सारा पानी वार्ड के अंदर आ गया, और वाटर सप्लाई वाज डिसरप्टेड फॉर मोर देन 2 days. Then डीजल जनरेटर सेट स्टॉप्ड वर्किंग. सो वन डायमेंशन इज दैट कि हॉस्पिटल की सबसे फैसिलिटीज इंटैक्ट होनी चाहिए, तभी हॉस्पिटल्स सुचारू रूप से चलेगा। दूसरी चीज डॉक्टर साहब है कि जो हमारे इंटर सेक्टोरल कोऑर्डिनेशन सिस्टम है, health system cannot remain resilient if other systems are not resilient. So like all weather roads are like transport systems, like electricity. Then when we talk of the electric backup, then in between a concept of green hospitals also came. और बिल्कुल जो आप कह रहे हैं कि जो बड़े बड़े हॉल्स जो वार्ड हों, वहां पर जहां पर हम क्रिटिकल जो सेक्शंस ऑफ हॉस्पिटल्स को छोड़ करके वी कैन इवन थिंक ऑफ द सोलर लाइटिंग फैसिलिटी आर जो ग्रीन हॉस्पिटल के कंसेप्ट को लेकर के भी हम आ सकते हैं, जो कॉस्ट भी कटिंग करेगा और जो ग्रीन हाउस गैस इमिशंस में जो कंट्रीब्यूशन होता है उसको भी कम करेगा। और जो तीसरा डायमेंशन है डॉक्टर साहब, वो है कि हॉस्पिटल सेफ्टी प्रिपेयर्डनेस। हमारे हॉस्पिटल्स में चूंकि हम मैक्सिमम जो हेल्थ प्रोफेशनल्स हैं, लेकिन वहां का जो एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव स्टाफ है उनके अंदर वो कैपेसिटी टू अंडरस्टैंड कि जो हॉस्पिटल्स की जो बिल्डिंग है वो कहाँ पे लोकेट होनी चाहिए, वेदर द डिजाइन इज डिजास्टर रेजिलिएंट और नॉट। तो उन चीजों को लेकर के भी हमको ये बात को बढ़ावा देने की जरूरत है। और चौथी बात ये है कि हॉस्पिटल्स के ऊपर वर्क जो लोड है वो चूंकि अवेयरनेस के साथ ये भी होता है कि हॉस्पिटल में लोड भी बढ़ता है, दैट वी विटनेस इन दिल्ली एंड अदर सिटीज ड्यूरिंग दिस कोरोना वायरस पीरियड आल्सो। ये हर आदमी चाहता है कि हम हॉस्पिटल में जाएं और हॉस्पिटल की फैसिलिटी अवेल करें, तो उसके लोड को कैसे कम करें, ये भी एक बात निकल के आती है डॉक्टर साहब। और जो दूसरी बात आपने कही एनिमल्स पे, तो ये बात पिछले 20-25 साल में ये अछूती रही। एनिमल्स के बारे में कभी कभार बात हुई कि एनिमल सेंट्रिक डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट भी होना चाहिए, हमें उनको मेन स्ट्रीम करना चाहिए। हमने कुछ पिछले साल से ये कार्यक्रम शुरू किया जिसमें एनिमल इंक्लूसिव डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट की हमने बात करी, क्योंकि बहुत जगहों पे जो डिजास्टर्स होते हैं, बिकॉज ऑफ डिजास्टर्स अवर नॉट ओनली अवर लाइव स्टॉक और पेट्स, livestock and pets, that is a more major portion of the kind of a damage to livelihood, particularly if we look at the examples of cyclone, and if we look at the examples of the kind of a flooding also, particularly the rural areas. So that has been an important dimension, and that is the reason now we are promoting that all the disaster management planning should integrate this component. Ministry of Department of Animal Husbandry, Dairy and Fisheries has recently come up with a disaster management plan that how the animals need to be protected, and so that they are talking more of the fisheries and livestock, but other animals like stray animals are pets, and then beside that wildlife. So currently we are working with Ministry of Environment and Forest just 2 days before we sign an MOU, and there in fact it is going to be a significant component including wildlife, that how animals need to be protected from disasters. So it has to be looked from two ways, that how disasters are affecting them, it has to be seen, but how animals can contribute to disaster risk reduction, because animals is a great resource in terms of people's capacities, and people who have better capacities are resilient to not only disasters but all kind of climatic shocks also, and it gives better health to the people. So that is also a kind of a multi-dimensional relationship between human population and animal population has to be.
सवाल, समय कम है, मैं लास्ट सवाल पूछ रहा हूँ कि 2003 में सार्स आया, 2009 में H1N1 आया, 2012 में मर्स आया, 2019 में कोविड-19 आया जी। 2003 से लेके 2019 में 4 पेंडेमिक आए, पहला 6 साल के बाद, दूसरा 3 साल के बाद, फिर 7 साल के बाद। तो अगले 3 साल में कौन सा नया पेंडेमिक आने वाला है, इसके लिए कोई कमेटी बैठी है क्या?
डॉक्टर साहब मुझे लगता है इसमें तो आप ज्यादा अच्छे बता सकते हैं, लेकिन मुझे लगता है
भारत सरकार की कोई कमेटी है इस पे जो आगे पेंडेमिक को कि कौन सी पेंडेमिक आ सकती है, क्योंकि मेरे को लगता है कि नेक्स्ट 3 साल में आएगा, बिकॉज ये सीक्वेंस।
डॉक्टर साहब, द काइंड ऑफ ह्यूमन इंट्रूजन टू द वाइल्ड जीन स्टॉक दैट वी आर विटनेसिंग ऑल अक्रॉस द वर्ल्ड, एंड अभी जो खतरा है वो इसलिए है कि दुनिया के किसी भी कोने में होता है, इट कैन फास्टली स्प्रेड। दैट ये जो
Agreed.
कोविड के साथ हुआ वो इसीलिए हुआ, अदरवाइज हो सकता है ये एंडेमिक रह के हो के रह जाता, या कुछ ही कंट्रीज तक जाता, जैसा कि बाकी पिछले सिनेरियोज में हुआ था। बट अभी ट्रैवलिंग हमारी इतनी फास्ट है कि जब तक वो चीज पता चलती है तब तक वो बहुत दूर तक चली जाती है। द सेम विद यूके स्ट्रेन ऑल्सो, कि जब तक वहां पे बात हो रही थी तब तक वो हिंदुस्तान में आ गया। सो ये पॉसिबिलिटी अभी बहुत है, और इसीलिए पेंडेमिक्स के लिए एक प्रिपेयर्डनेस एंड आई वुड से जो आप कह भी रहे हैं कि एक अर्ली वार्निंग सिस्टम टाइप की चीज बहुत जल्दी डेवलप करने की जरूरत है। whether we can have some kind of a model based approach, or whatever, we are also trying to see that the kind of a atmospheric and climatic connections also, कि क्या कोविड में कुछ एटमॉस्फेरिक या क्लाइमेटिक कनेक्शंस भी रहे हैं। ये ट्रैवलिंग वाला तो कनेक्शन एक है ही है, बट इसके साथ और क्या क्या डायमेंशंस हो सकते हैं। सो दैट इज एन इम्पोर्टेंट क्वेश्चन, डॉक्टर साहब।
Thank you, Professor Gupta, to be here with us. That's what he has said, what ministry is doing, what government is doing. हमें भी अपना कर्तव्य पूरा करना है जो इस प्रोग्राम को देख रहे हैं। हम सब लोग काइंडली वॉच इन द सोशल मीडिया, पूरे वर्ल्ड में क्या हो रहा है। किसी ज़माने में हम सिर्फ अपना लोकल देखते थे, अब हमें पूरे वर्ल्ड को देखना है। और याद रखिए, ये जो बीमारी है, सारे डिजास्टर्स एशिया से आए हैं। अमेरिका और यूके ने दिखा दिया है कि वो फेलियर हैं एज फार एज कम्युनिकेबल डिसीजेज आर कंसर्न। सो कम्युनिकेबल डिसीजेस के लिए अब फाइट होगी इंडिया वर्सेस चाइना से, कि कौन सुपीरियर है। दोनों आपस में हाथ नहीं मिलाएंगे। आइए हम सब लोग मिलके इस डिजास्टर्स के ऊपर में इतनी पढ़ाई करें कि हम चाइना से बहुत आगे निकल जाएं, और फिर कहें आने दो पेंडेमिक को, क्या फर्क पड़ता है। दैट्स ऑल फॉर टुडे। लेट मी थैंक प्रोफेसर गुप्ता टू बी हियर, and we'll be back tomorrow 7 p.m. with another show. Keep watching Medtalks with Dr. K.K. Agarwal. Namaste.
Namaste.
ऋतु